the apparent Chinese military build-up, and perhaps China's going to make a move on Taiwan. And I'm sure if they did, the US 7th Fleet would have something serious to say about that. With China being Australia's biggest trading partner, something like 27% of our goods and services, something like that. It's interesting, and I try to keep my eye on it. And when I'm not at work, and I'm back here, I do dabble in trading oil. So I try to keep a close eye on the printout of China, because it does affect the Australian economy. And the last thing the Australian economy needs now is a big shock. So I look at the balance of trade coming out of China. If China is the world's biggest crude importer at the moment, and if that starts to rocket up, perhaps that's a prelude to a large military operation. I mean, at the moment, all we can go is what happened last year. They're about 2% down on average. It's still about 11 million barrels a day. But granted, they've had a lot of electrification, and their domestic production has picked up a bit. I think it's about 4 million barrels a day now, something like that. But just to put a bit of context on that, back in 1939, 1940, early 1941, a certain socialist in Germany, Mr. H, was trying to build up the biggest crude stockpile he could before heading east in a land war, because he needed that to drive his war machine. And he was at war with France, the UK, Poland, and all that. And he would have, as far as I know, he would have enjoyed it if the UK had sued for peace, even though the UK army at that time in the European theatre was no threat to him whatsoever. But the Royal Navy was, and the Royal Navy had totally blockaded Germany. So there was no oil imports, and the biggest oil exporters at that time was the USA and some countries in South America. So if you flip that to now, it's the same with China. You can't run, because China would face a huge embargo if something happened like that, and you can't run your tanks and you can't run your jets off coal. So